Ain't nothing but being brutally honest coming at you with another video. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dropping Dimes with Mr. Dugas, man. How's it going, bro? It's good to see you.
What's going on, man? Good to be here. Good to be here.
Yeah, this is the week, man. Who would have thought that the Eagles and the Niners go into the NFC Championship game?
Right, man. I remember we chopped it up. It was about a year or two ago, and for a regular season game, and like you said, here we are, man. Super Bowl on the line.
For all the marbles, whoever wins goes to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, dude, like, this is insane. Last year, we played each other, and I had you on my show like a year ago. And then, you were dropping some facts, man. You were talking like it is. Like, you were saying that this team was physical. I mean, you've seen your Eagles done better, but what was your thoughts of the season when it came down to the Eagles this year?
I thought we would be a pretty good team when you talk about the additions of A.J. Brown and James Bradbury, Hassan Reddick, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Though I didn't think Gardner-Johnson would have that type of impact like he had, and Reddick was even better than matter of fact, they all were better than I even thought they would be. And I thought Jalen Hurts would be improved, but I didn't see this type of, leap as far as MVP finalist type of leap. So I thought we would, like, coming into the year, I thought we would at least get to the divisional round. But to get to the NFC Championship game and to actually host it, it exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, the talent-wise, I mean, Jalen Hurts making strong leaps, and he's already becoming discussions of the MVP before the injury. So it was kind of exactly like he outperformed the expectation. The Eagles, they made some aggressive moves, like you said. Charlie, what's his name? Gardner or CJ, that safety that you guys got from the Saints. Yeah, he kind of made a strong impact. Before then, he was known as a guy that gets penalized a lot.
Right. Yeah, and I thought he was, because I'm around a lot of Saints fans, and they talked about him a lot, but they talked about him more so as somebody getting under people's skin. It never really was, man, he's a great player. He makes a lot of plays. So for him to come in, and I was like, well, all right, he gonna bring a swagger to the defense, but we moved him back to high safety. And it's like, wow, man, he was leading the NFL in interceptions before he got hurt in that Green Bay game. And then with him having Avonte Maddox, like last game, was able to put him at nickel corner and have Blankenship back at high safety. So he's been a big time addition.
Yeah, he's kind of made a difference for your guys' secondary, which your secondary is like ranked number one against the pass or something like that, right?
Yeah, they're number one pass defense.
So what makes it so interesting is you got James Bradbury, which he was let go by the Giants, and you guys signed him, which was kind of like a crazy move. I didn't know how this was going to pan out. Maybe it was better for a change of scenery for him to come to within a division that has better talent. So I think it made a good transition. You had Darius Slay, you have Bradbury. That's kind of a good problem to have in the secondary, especially those guys. They make plays.
Yeah, I like the addition, but I mean, he's been big. He's honestly had a better year than Slay has had. Slay gets a lot of, recognition from, the longevity he's had. He's a Pro Bowler. Bradbury didn't make the Pro Bowl, but he made second team All-Pro, and Slay didn't make, the All-Pro team. So Bradbury has definitely been a big-time addition for us.
Yeah, without a doubt. Then you guys got A.J. Brown, which I thought was steal of the offseason, man. Like, when you guys played Tennessee, man, that GM got fired.
Right, right. I thought it was pretty funny, right? The irony of that, him to go out there have such a big game, and then it's like they get rid of the GM. And yeah, that was a big steal for us. It's like I was happy we got him. I'm like, okay, but the only game, I did watch that game last year. I watched when y'all played them last year. I think it was on a Thursday night, and he had a really, really big game. But other Tennessee games I seen, I didn't really see too much of an impact with him. But I knew he would have definitely upgraded the wide receiver position. And then when he's come in, I'm like, man, this guy is, a poor man's TO, like as far as, the type of impact he's had on our roster.
Yeah, he kind of makes all the plays. I mean, he's making a strong leap, like going from the Tennessee Titans that probably didn't give him much of the ball at that point. Now he's getting a lot of the targets in Philadelphia. I see his production dipping up. It went from 800 yards the previous season to it went up to like 14 or 1500 yards. That's just a massive difference from getting the ball. I mean, and he does make your offense very good. Like Jalen Hurts is building that chemistry, and then Devontae Smith is coming into his own. He doesn't have to be worried about getting a lot of the coverage because it'll be focused on AJ Brown, which kind of helps your team a lot.
Right. Yeah. Really good duo. They complement each other really well. Smith is more of like the possession guy, could go deep every now and then. And AJ Brown is just that big physical presence, and he opens it up for Smith a lot. And Smith as well, don't allow teams to focus on AJ Brown too much. It's the best wide receiver duo we've probably ever had.
For quite some time, yeah. It's been a long time. So it's like you have to go way back where you guys had some good dual receivers at that point. I mean, maybe during that time, way before our time, maybe when they went to the Super Bowl with those receivers they had.
Yeah, but even with those, it was more like T.O. and a bunch of Tito Jacksons, like with Todd Pinkston and, Billy McMullen and all those guys. And, Jeremy Maclin and Deshaun Jackson was a solid duo.
Oh, yeah.
They were a solid duo, but not quite like this one.
Oh, yeah. Like, A.J. Brown's just a dog. Like, compared to all the receivers I've seen, I ain't gonna lie, I actually wanted him at one point, but then I just had to just fall in love with Debo, man. But I don't know, something about Debo just makes him more dynamic compared to A.J. Brown's just a dog. He'll just dominate as a receiver, but man, that's the one receiver I always wanted. But we ended up getting Brandon Ayuk the following year, which turned out okay for us, I guess. But
oh, yeah.
So when you look into the 49ers season, what really caught you by surprise with the Niners this year?
How they kept afloat despite the quarterback situation. I watched the game against Chicago, and I looked at Trey Lance, and he didn't quite look ready, in that game. And then of course he gets hurt the next game, and then Jimmy G comes out there, and y'all had a lot of success with Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of people bang on him. He's not the young up and coming type of quarterback that everybody wants, but he seems to win games when he's in the lineup over there. And then when he goes down, it's like, oh boy, well, I thought honestly y'all was gonna take a look at Baker Mayfield, because ironically, right after that, I think Carolina cut him right after that. I said, oh, they're gonna go get Baker. And it's like, I got a homeboy who's a Dolphins fan, and that's when he came in against the Dolphins. And he was like, bro, I think they might have found a quarterback. And I'm like, come on, man. Like cut that out, man. Y'all probably just whatever. But then y'all went out there against Tampa, and it's like, whoa, whoa, this team is, they're going to be all right with this guy, man. So, y'all got the pedigree. Y'all got the roster, with the Kittles, the Debos. Ayuk stepped up big this season, trading for Christian McCaffrey, who was one of the best backs in the league. We always knew the defense would come to play. So for me, it was the way that they was able to stay afloat despite the quarterback situation.
Yeah, it stayed afloat because the way we kept our offense, the way the way we were going with it, it got a lot better than expected. Like you said, the quarterback position, we were just unlucky with Trey Lance's injury. But everybody was like sigh relief and say, oh, we got Jimmy Garoppolo. We know what he can do. And then 8 weeks later or later on, he gets hurt. I'm like, is this season gonna be over? Like, I
Right.
wasn't sure about Mr. Irrelevant. I was like, is this pretty much our death sentence? Like, you can't overcome with 3 quarterbacks. And then,
Right.
like, when we saw that Dolphins game, I was like saying, man, they didn't even see this kid play. It was like he caught them off guard a little bit. Usually when they
Right.
do, they get caught off guard. And then the next game, I saw what I saw from Tampa Bay. He blew the brakes out of Brady, and that was impressive. And then the short week in Seattle, it was like, okay, he did all right. Commanders game, great defense. We wanted to see how he does against a great defense, and he showed some flashes there. And then when we saw the matchup with the Raiders where he was down by 10 points, this is where everybody was questioning, can he come from behind? And he did. So there was a lot of the games down the stretch. And then they said, can he win a playoff game? We saw that in Seattle. Can he win against a better team? And it seems like it's not too big for this guy.
Yeah, I mean, and it helps, man. He got some playmakers around him, man. I mean, with Debo, McCaffrey, George Kittle, IU. Y'all could even throw was it McLeod out there? There's a fast guy. I seen him take 70 yards against Washington or something like that. So and then you got the Hall of Famer Trent Williams along that offensive line. So basically he got to go out there, man, and just get the ball to the playmakers.
Yeah, and he's done good enough to where he did his part. And getting Christian McCaffrey was like a bonus. Like, I didn't think this would be a difference, but if you look at the stat record, ever since we've had Christian McCaffrey from that pickup, even though he only played very little against the Chiefs, ever since he's been our starter at running back, we've been undefeated with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, he's big time, man. And I was kind of surprised when the move happened. Because I was like, well, I know Elijah Mitchell did get banged up early in the year, but I was like, well, they got Wilson. I didn't think he would end. I thought he was going to end up somewhere like Buffalo or something like that. But when y'all traded for him, I was kind of surprised. I was like, okay, I didn't really see him going there, but yeah, like you said, he's been big time in that Kyle Shanahan offense.
It caught me by surprise when we made that move, because I just thought realistically, why would we want to get another running back when we already invested so much on running backs? Like, I thought Jeff Wilson did a pretty good job for us, but then they just wanted to do better. And then I was hoping they were going to give chances to guys like Jordan Mason and Ty Davis Price, but that's not the case, man. They're not. It's kind of like they just wanted to do better, but why do we invest so high on these high draft picks, man? Like, I don't get it. Like, if we're not high on these running backs, then why even pick them this high?
Yeah, and I remember we had is it Trey Sermon? I want to say we had picked up from y'all waving him, and he actually got in a game or two for us earlier this year. I think he's just on the practice squad right now, though.
I don't know why I liked him then, but I just never understood why we didn't even give this guy a fair chance. But it seems like they just didn't seem high with him as much as they did before. So we always seem to invest a lot more better with the low picks. Like, if we get an undrafted guy or a late round draft pick, he turns out to be a better running back than most guys. I don't know if Ty Davis Price is going to be in that same trajectory because he was picking the third round. And I'm pretty sure you're very familiar with Ty Davis Price from LSU.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what was your thoughts of him getting drafted by the Niners?
I actually thought it was a good fit. I was surprised because Elijah Mitchell, is over there. He's a UL Lafayette guy. He's only like 40 minutes away from my hometown, actually. So I was kind of surprised that they picked him, but I thought he would have success there. He's a really good one cutback. He's not somebody that's going to be real shifty, make a lot of people miss. But, if you give him a lane and ask him to make one cut, he's a big downhill physical back. He had like 280 something or 90 something yards against Florida, a couple of seasons ago. So, yeah, he's a big time back, and I thought he would do well if given an opportunity in that system.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit of a reach at the time because I didn't know who he was. I just only see what I've seen. And I said, man, he was like, what is it, a 1 year starter there, I believe?
Yeah, he started 1 year though. He got some carries on that 2019 team with Burrow, Chase, and Jefferson and them. He kind of was spell Clyde Edwards-Helaire here and there.
Yeah, it was just kind of like I didn't hear about him then, but then when I saw what he did last year, like in college, like in the second half of the season, he was getting a lot of those big runs. So that's what kind of like got my attention. Like, okay, he was a little bit of a high pick, but man, it's crazy. Like we just keep going for these other running backs, and then we just realize why do we even spend that high on a high pick running back? It makes no sense. And then they just go all in for Christian McCaffrey. Like I was like thinking, why are we pulling some moves like this now? Like it didn't make sense then to get Christian McCaffrey. Like if you got Jeff Wilson, why are we changing everything?
Right. But it worked out. It worked out for y'all, man. And he's dynamic, man. He's real dynamic. Was arguably the best back in the league a couple of years ago. It's just he had these nagging injuries, like hamstring and ankle injuries, lower extremity type of injuries. But you could see this year with him being healthy, just like that was a 65-yard run he had against Seattle, in your wild card matchup, you could see the explosiveness he had, which is something that, y'all didn't quite get from the other backs y'all had. They were more powerful, physical backs, but a guy like that who you could get in space, he could make a lot of things happen.
Yeah, he could. He's explosive as a receiver in the backfield, a good runner. Like we've seen some of those big runs. But so what concerns you about Elijah Mitchell since he's already like healthy and coming off the injury and he's already like he did pretty well the last game?
Yeah, he's physical downhill runner. Like I said, and he's confidence growing. I mean, he was y'all lead back, last season for another NFC, championship run. So, y'all got the flashiness and the more of this quickness with McCaffrey, and then Elijah Mitchell could come in there and lay the hammer. Especially he's gonna have fresh legs. He's not gonna probably get a lot of touches like that, but the touches he do get, I know he's gonna try to lay the number and make the most of it.
Yeah, he's kind of like that one player that everybody's slipping on this year because he's coming off an injury. But as far as your running backs, how do you feel about Miles Sanders and the rest of your running back groups?
I like him. Miles, at times we could kind of get away from the run a little bit with Miles, which does frustrate the fan base at times. But Miles is big time, man. He's having a career year. It's a contract year. I don't know if we'll necessarily be able to keep him, after this season. But he's had a career year, made the Pro Bowl this year. Got a nice burst. If he get into open field, he could take one to the house. Never really broke the big, long one yet this year, like the 60, 70 yarders like he's did in the past. But he's a guy you could get in space. And like for Boston Scott, he's just a physical guy, not the biggest guy, but he gets the most out of his frame. Like when he goes out there, he runs hard. And Gainwell is more of a receiving back, but last game he had a career high 112 yards rushing on just, I think, like 7, 8, or 9 carries or something like that. But the running backs do a really good job. But it all starts with the offensive line up front. Just gashing the defensive lines and the linebackers.
Yeah, that's what makes it so interesting is because you guys were running the ball against the Giants with 268 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns out of them. That's going to be a tough task to deal with. I mean, when you look at the Niners, the way they play against the run, that's going to be something that we're probably going to have to force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball more than he usually does, and probably going to be a lot of pressure, but it has to come down to your running game to at least do a little bit more,
Yeah, especially another fact is Jalen Hurts himself run. He ran a few times against the Giants, but he didn't really get tested with the shoulder like talking about. We kind of could have reserved him a little bit. Him running the ball is also a big factor with the read option and the RPO game. I think back to when we played Dallas earlier this year, when Dallas came in with at the time a really, really hot defense with Michael Parsons, and we put him in a lot of uncomfortable situations, but at times not even blocking him and forcing him to react to who got the ball. So, that could be another key factor in this game as well.
Yeah, I mean, you had to see what he can do. I mean, he didn't get tested running the ball as much against the Giants, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have to see how this Niners defense can do. I mean, we're probably going to see how tough he is with the shoulder. I mean, the linebackers, like you look at the Niners linebackers, you got Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and Al Shalier. Those are like three good linebackers. But the question is, if Jalen Hurts is going to run, man, how is he going to feel that hit? Man, it's like our defense likes to test up those players.
Yeah, very physical defense, man. Probably to me the best set of linebackers in the NFL. With just how physical, definitely the best linebackers we've seen all year. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni try to, attack those guys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how both teams attack. But I'd like to give a shout out to, let's see, my boy Crazy Jews, and then this Rams fan, Shay Tweed. He's a cool dude, even though he's a Rams fan. And we got some of your followers here. And most of all, we got a guy that I was on the show earlier, JC Sports Talk, big time Eagles fan.
Oh, shout out to my guy, Mike Vander Bernard. I see in the chat.
Yeah,
what's good, bro?
Yeah, he's talking about Elijah Mitchell, who's from that small town of Louisiana, which is Erf or something.
Erath.
Man, that's a small town. I looked it up, and it's really that small of a town. Crazy. But he had to be tough.
Over there.
Yeah. And I don't know what is it with these guys. We're getting some guys from Louisiana, man. We got two of the running backs from there. But when you look at the Eagles receivers, man, you guys definitely have some weapons all around. Your tight end's pretty good. I mean, the running game, it matches up, but quarterback, he has no excuses. He's got all the weapons, and Nick Sirianni is already emerging into year 2 as a head coach. So I think last year he answered the doubters, because last year everybody was wondering how the Eagles were going to do with this rookie coach. They thought he wasn't going to make the playoffs that year, but he did last year too. So he's getting some experience out of it.
Yeah, man. Did a great job. I'm not gonna lie. When we first hired him, I wasn't a huge fan of the hiring. It was other guys that I was kind of had more on the radar than him. But and he didn't start off well. We were 2-5 to start. We were 2-5, just coming off of getting blown out by the Raiders. And then he made like a little comment to like a flower, and we just sitting here like, man, what we done got ourselves into. But they did a good job, finished strong, made the playoffs, got beat pretty handily, but it was a good experience just to get in there. And then this year with all the personnel, moves we made, they did a good job. They him and the coaching staff did a really good job. Jonathan Gannon, though he does get a lot of heat from the Philly fan base. We used to the Jim Johnson blitzing all the time type of defense, and he's more of a, let's drop back and rush with 4 or 5 type of D. But he's done a good job also. I feel like Shane Steichen or Jonathan Gannon, one of them gonna probably get a head coaching job, I would think.
Well, your DC has been getting some interviews, that Jonathan Gannon. I'm hearing a lot of praise about him. Like, he's done a pretty good job for your guys' defense, despite how a certain fan base feels about him. But D'Amico Ryans is making a strong case for a head coaching job also. So it's like, this guy, like, he was once a player for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans. So this guy knows defense.
Yeah, man. One of the best linebackers we've had. Just was very, very cerebral. I remember it was a game, I think a Monday night game, we played the Giants, and Eli had checked into a play, and then D'Amico Ryans checked over into a play on the defense, and it was the perfect defensive call for what the Giants was running. So you could have tell back then how just smart and cerebral he was as a student of the game. So it doesn't surprise me the type of success, he's having as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's already passing the knowledge to guys like Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, and a lot of those guys are picking his brains. And it's kind of interesting how he hasn't, like, I mean, he wasn't like out of the league that long. I mean, he played like 5 or 6 years ago. It wasn't too long ago, but he still has it. Like, he still feels like a player in the field.
Yeah, I think I want to say Chip's last year was his last year with us. Playing. I don't remember if he went somewhere played after that, but I know he was with us, and he had got injured, and then Jordan Hicks had kind of filled in for him. But yeah, he was a big time player with us.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, shout out to one of the fellas. I don't know if this is on your channel, but shout out to them. Mr. Marshall gave you, I guess, a $1.99 donation. Fly Eagles and Fly Niners have no change against us. Not sure if it's on your channel or the network.
Right. Not sure neither. But shout out to you.
Shout out to you, but we'll see how it goes. But so if we're looking at the matchup wise, okay, like just as a fan of the team of your team, like what concerns you more about the Eagles that could be where the Niners can expose the most?
For me, it's the middle of the field defensively. George Kittle is the guy that I fear the absolute most on the Niners offense. We got really good corners, when it comes to coverage, but at times our linebackers are not great in coverage. And CJ Gardner Johnson is a really good, kind of off the ball type of player, a guy that kind of roams around and gets interceptions going into other places. But we don't really have a guy that could go one-on-one, with George Kittle. So that's the matchup that kind of worries me a lot as far as, I feel like if we could maybe do a decent job against the run, with the front we have, and we could maybe do a decent job against the receivers on the outside, but it's George Kittle in the middle of the field attacking our linebackers and safeties is what really scares me the most about this matchup.
Yeah, it sure does. I mean, it's kind of hard to figure out George Kittle at times. I mean, you would either have to be physical or play a little dirty towards him. You gotta like take the playbook out of what the Cardinals did. Buda Baker does. He takes that cheap shot out of him, but it's hard to take Kittle out of the game. So even as a blocker, that's the scary part too. He can open up the running games.
Yeah, he's big time. Yeah, and on the other side is how healthy is Lane Johnson? He didn't really get tested that much last week. The Giants don't really have a great, Kayvon Thibodeau is a nice young player, but he's a young guy who hasn't really scratched the surface yet. But it's a whole new battle going up against Nick Bosa.
Yeah,
A healthy 100% Lane Johnson, I feel like it'll be a great, great battle with them. But I'm concerned that, he re-injures himself or he's not quite himself going up against Nick Bosa, because him out of the game for us is a huge drop off at the right tackle position.
absolutely. It could be concerning for that. You want to see how he's tested against one of the best edge rushers out there, like Bosa and quite a few other guys. We got some guys who can be very physical and effective. So, like, okay, as far as what concerns me facing your Eagles is, I think it can be like a field day with your receivers. I think besides AJ Brown, it could be scary with Devontae Smith having a monster game. But as I watch those two playoff games, I'm feeling a little bit concerned, a little bit, because I've seen Lenore kind of step up to the plate and shut down those number two receivers downs. But it would be kind of scary to see two receivers break out. I mean, I would say maybe Dallas Goedert comes off of game, maybe that's scary, but we limited Dalton Schultz to like 5 catches to 27 yards. So it's like, I feel like if the Eagles offense can get to an explosive start and our coverage misses up a little bit, that can be kind of concerning. Maybe you guys have a quick lead or something, and maybe that will be hard for us to catch on because, you guys are playing well. And if we come from behind, it's going to be difficult to stick with the formula.
Yeah. That's a matchup I like as well, but gotta protect.
Oh, okay. So I guess let's see what this dude said. Why should we be scared of the Niners? Okay, I think we give you guys more of a physicality matchup. We impose your will. We're going to take away your strength a little bit, and we're going to force you to do something different. Like, we're like that python. We're going to squeeze the hell out of you guys and make you do something different.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good matchup. It's the best team we've played all year by far.
Yeah, like I think even for you Eagle fans, I would think there's maybe a little concern, like he just said, like George Kittle's going to be a tough matchup. The in the backfield, like in the middle, that's going to be hard to do because that's some of the weaknesses. We have Christian McCaffrey who can catch up the middle. Also, we got different weapons. Like Deebo Samuel is not some ordinary wide receiver that you have to shut down. He might even be a factor as a runner.
Mm-hmm.
There's
a
a lot of
weapons over there.
yeah. There's a lot of versatility that you got to deal with, but like I said.
Yeah, definitely.
So as far as like your matchup, I mean, Like, I know it's like when you look at it, like who has to be that one player for the Philadelphia Eagles to be that X factor on offense that you think, hey, if he steps up, we have a better chance to win this game?
I know it's kind of low hanging fruit, but I'm gonna say AJ Brown. Simply because I went back and I watched. Now I know both teams are a little different, but I went back and I watched our matchup last season when we played in week 2. And one of the things that really like made our offense stifled a little bit was the physicality of the 49ers defense, especially on the outside. Devontae was really our only real competent receiver last year. And he got roughed up a little bit that game. He didn't really make too much of an impact. And like I mentioned, I know it's a different team and a different circumstance. AJ Brown had a really good game against the 49ers last year. And he gives us that physical presence, on the outside. So I feel like if he is getting off and he is making plays early in this game, I like our chances a lot.
Yeah, if he becomes the X factor, that would definitely be a concern for the Niners defense. If we can't shut this guy, then it's going to be a long day. Depends on how you guys are able to balance your offense. If I would think what would be concerning besides AJ Brown is if you guys get your receivers going. Like if you get Devontae Smith on a field day, that can be difficult to defend, and it probably be a hell of a game. But if you guys can do it all in one, this can be a long day going forward. But I think the concern factor is if we can exploit up the middle, like you said, if we can get Kittle involved more in this passing game and make it more hard for you guys to come from this game, then it's anybody's ball game. But I see your run defense can be a little tired out in the late in the game. But other teams like the Giants, the reason why they weren't able to stick with that formula was because they were far behind. So when you can't just run the ball when you're that behind, even though Barkley was averaging 6 yards a carry, and didn't really matter at that point because you guys were playing great defense at that point. But if you keep it a close game, I think that's where the Eagles have struggled. If they keep a game close, that's where a team can run the ball effectively better down the stretch.
Yeah, and you look at our losses, especially like the Washington game where Hurts, that's the only game we lost when Hurts started. They controlled the clock a lot on us. They ran the ball on us, played keep away and made a couple of times. Like Heineke wasn't great necessarily in that game, but besides the strip sack we got on him like in the first drive of the game, he protected the football. And he kept our offense off the field. So yeah, like if San Francisco comes out there and runs the ball on us and convert on third downs to keep the ball out of our offense's hands, it could make things that it could definitely make things a little more difficult.
Yeah, and I don't know about concern about us not playing outside the time zone. I think it's more about how we are able to adjust. I think most teams would rather play more close to their home field and not have to travel too much. But I think we've played outside the time zone before where it was down Mexico. Mexico's a different time zone. It's not the West Coast, none of that. But Eagles, most of their sacks, yeah, they lead the lead in sacks because their defensive line is outstanding. So you have 4 of your players that have double-digit sacks and been consistent. So when you look at your defense, like I think matchup-wise, you guys will probably give us the most problems. But I think if we play up to our game and just do what we do, it can be anybody's game. But I feel like it's not a concern. I feel like this game's going to be very close. It's not going to be a blowout like how some Eagles and Niner fans are even saying. I think we're looking at it as a low-score game, maybe in the 20s, maybe for both teams, or maybe, hey, it wouldn't surprise me if it goes up in the 30s for both teams. Who knows?
Yeah, I definitely see more of a lower scoring game. The Giants, we just I know some people thought it would be a close game because the Giants coming in so hot and the Eagles kind of, struggle down the stretch. But from a personnel standpoint, like they didn't match up with the Eagles, and we knew that coming in. So yeah, I expect it to be a close game. I mean, these teams are very, very close when it comes to just a talent. I think these are the 2 best rosters left in the whole playoffs. Even with the AFC side.
Yeah, I think roster-wise, you got 2 teams with a complete offense, defense. They're in between the top 5s, if I'm being honest. Like your defense is there, our defense is there. It's evenly matched. But do you feel concerned about your special teams, or you think your special teams have done a lot better than expected?
Our special teams have actually been terrible this year. Besides our kicker, Jake Elliott has been awesome this year, but the punting game is not very good. In the return game, I mean, we never popped the return. I think Boston Scott had one where he got across the 50 against Chicago, and that's like the only nice return we've had all year. The coverage has been better. The coverage was bad in the Green Bay game, but ever since then it picked up and it's been a lot better. But special teams for us isn't great, but I do like the fact that Jake Elliott is somebody, at least up to this point, we could count on to make big kicks if we need.
Oh, dude, that's been the issue with the Niners too, is their special teams a little bit too. So it's like we've had our moments with returning kicks also, but then Ray McLeod can't hold on to the ball sometimes. And then our kickoff units, bro, they've been giving up some big runs at times with those return plays. So it's like we got to fix that. As far as like our kicking game, Gold's kind of been consistent, but in the playoffs, he hasn't missed a kick. So that's a good thing. But our punter's been okay. But as far as like our kickoff unit or any other way, dude, it's kind of like we have that sloppy start, and then we just tend to like once we get a momentum going, that's when our special teams makes those tackles before they even reach the 20-yard line or something.
Right. Yeah, I did see Turpin that did get a couple of nice returns last week. Now that I think about it.
Yeah. So to correct that for those people, yeah, in Mexico City, that is the central time zone, bro. That is the central time zone. Because we played down, I mean, yeah, we haven't played the East Coast. I know that's been 10 weeks, so we'll correct that part. But yeah, when the guys said we haven't played outside the Pacific time zone, it was actually in Mexico City, which was not that long ago either. That's a crazy stadium to go to, is Mexico City at that Azteca. What is it? Estadio Azteca, dude? One of the most historic stadiums.
Yeah, a lot of altitude over there also.
Yeah, and I was kind of like surprised how we just go all the way down Colorado. We go all the way down Colorado to Colorado Springs to practice in that altitude. And I was like thinking, what does this have to do with it? It's not going to be that cold over there. I didn't know at first, but they were prepared for it.
Yeah, that altitude is something out there.
Yeah, and we tested up pretty well. So Philadelphia, it's going to be a great atmosphere with your fans, man. Like you guys got some crazy fans out there. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it, definitely. They ramped up and they're ready. They're gonna be this is the biggest game in 5 years over there, since we played Minnesota in the NFC Championship game in the 2017-2018 season. So I can't wait to see the atmosphere. Got to keep them engaged in the game.
Oh, here's a good question for one of your fan base. Is Avonte Maggs coming back in the slot? Which I've heard his name pop up for you guys. Like he's one of your slot corners, right?
Yeah, he's a slot corner. He's practicing right now on a limited basis. Coach Nick Sirianni said, we're gonna see, but it sounds encouraging. It sounds like we did keep him out last week. But if he comes back, that would definitely be a big help. We could move Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back to the high safety role and have him in the slot. Though Reed Blankenship did a good job filling in, when Gardner-Johnson was injured, and then when he came back, he had to play in the slot. So, but to get him back in that high safety role where he's good at, reading and reacting and making plays and getting interceptions, it'll definitely help the defense out if Mattis could go and he could be himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Like getting somebody back from the injury does make a difference for your team. I mean, he was kind of like your solid corner, and then you had some other guys coming out. So what kind of makes it so interesting about our defense was before the season, Ward was supposed to be our starter, but we got Deshaun Gibson we picked him up randomly. Like we didn't know what to expect. And then he ends up being the difference maker also. So we're like thinking, I guess we can't put Ward back at safety at this point. So let's just put him at the slot. And I was kind of critical about having this guy play slot. I'm like, dude, this guy gets beat a lot. Like, what the heck? And then he's kind of made some opportunities with some tip passes and got a couple of picks. And I'm like, okay, I guess he's doing fine. But, man, it's kind of risky to put Ward at those spots,
Yeah, and I mean that safety Hufanga, he's a big time player too, man. Looks like a Palomalu out there the way he just runs around and stuff. But he's been a pleasant surprise and really really good also.
Yeah, he was trained by Troy Polamalu too.
Yeah, I heard he's Polynesian as well. So yeah, you could see it. Like it was one play against Dallas when he ran up to the line and he looked exactly like Palomalu out there. And I was like,
He was
wow,
running
man, this guy.
off.
Oh yeah, like this guy's big time, man.
Yeah, he was running off the blitz right there, and it looked like he almost screwed up the coverage. But lucky for us, we were able to stop Dak from that play. So it was like, damn, dude, like Hufanga could be gambling at times. So that might be what makes him so interesting, is he could be unpredictable.
Right. And that's how Palomalu was, man. Like and what was so great about Palomalu, he timed those blitzes perfectly. Like as soon as the ball was snapped and the O line opened up, he was right there. He even had one where I think he dove over the line right at the snap of the ball, which is crazy.
Yeah, it was. And that's what made him so interesting, was the way he was able to be in position to do what he does. It's ridiculous. But when you look at Hufanga, his speed doesn't really translate the way it looks like, but he makes up for it with his intelligence and the way he plays the game. So it's like this guy just has a good instinct of the game. And getting somebody like Deshaun Gibson was a steal pickup. I didn't think this guy even still had it. And I'm like, damn, I guess he's leading the team in the interceptions this year.
Yeah, first team All Pro, man. Big time year for him.
Yeah, but Gibson's leading the team, and he's not even in the Pro Bowl this year. But he was pretty good for the Jags, and he was good for the Browns at one point. So getting this guy at the peak of his career.
Yeah, and sometimes it goes that way. Like you get guys that kind of bounced around a little bit. It reminded me the Super Bowl year when we got Patrick Robinson. We just was thinking he'll be more of a depth addition. He ended up being one of the better nickel corners in the whole NFL that season. So it happens like that, man. You bring veterans in and you give them a situation where they could actually compete for a championship. You'll be surprised what you could get out of them sometimes.
Yeah, this is a good question from this guy. Will SF use Hufanga to spy on Hurts? That I don't know. I think we'll probably either use one of our linebackers. I think it's either going to have to be Greenlaw or maybe Jimmy Ward. Who knows? I mean, I think it's possible whoever's in that assignment and they see Hurts run, they're going to probably have to follow him at that point. So I'm intrigued how Jalen Hurts is going to have to test himself. I want to see how he's going to test by running the ball. Let's see if he can run it and take the hit. I mean, you got to see how he's built for this. I mean, he didn't get tested against the Giants as much because he only ran it 4 different times.
Yeah, the Giants didn't really present too much of a challenge. But I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see how he handles. Everything is kind of, a lot of people wondering about Purdy, playing on the road in this type of environment. I want to see how I'm very excited to see how Jalen Hurts come out in such a big game and leads this team, to try to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we want to all see what Brock Purdy could do, actually. We want to see what he's made of in this environment. I know he hasn't been tested in a further distance. Okay, this is the true test. Let's see what this kid's made of. And I guess he's comparing your baseball team to the Phillies, I guess. Dude, it's a different ball game. We'll see how this kid's made of. I think we'll see if he can handle the pressure because the Eagles have some dogs on the defensive line. They'll be able to rush to him. The question is, how can he overcome it? I mean, Cowboys defense may not be as good as everybody says, but man, they were playing their hearts out there.
Nah, they played well. They played very well defensively. They was inspired. They flew around. And it wasn't just, Michael Parsons. DeMarcus Lawrence played well. Van Der Esch, they played really well defensively. I know for them, they wish Diggs could have hung on to that, the interception that Purdy did give to him. But besides that, they played well. It just was a lot expected of them because their offense couldn't maneuver much points.
Yeah. So here's a good question by your boy Mike. So next year, do the Niners go with Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo's gone. He ain't coming back next year. So it's gonna either have to be Purdy or Lance competing. I would think, depending on how this plays out for Brock Purdy, he might have this job at this point. So why even why give it away to a hot hand if he's playing well? Don't change what's not broken. Don't fix it. Just let it be. Like they say, don't fix what's not broken.
It's funny. This reminds me so much of us the Super Bowl year with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, where Carson Wentz was now I know Trey Lance didn't quite, he got injured early and he didn't have a chance to really establish himself yet, but he is a very high pick that y'all invested a lot to get him. It was interesting because Wentz was having this great run and then he gets injured and Nick Foles comes in and wins the Super Bowl. And, it was a big do you roll with, you had half the fan base wanted Foles to stay out there, half wanted to roll with Carson Wentz. So it's very interesting to see what y'all do. Because obviously for me, if Purdy does beat us and he either wins the Super Bowl, plays well in the Super Bowl, how can you not let him be the guy next year? But if he does come to Philly this week and say he struggles very much, he struggles bad, has a very bad game, and y'all lose, then at that point, is it an open competition? Like, what happens at that point?
It's one or the other. I mean, it has to depend on how he performs too. He has to have more of a blue chip on his shoulder to prove himself. Like everybody's talking about, can he win another game? Can he play against a better team? This is going to be his true test.
Yeah, it's a big one. If he comes in and he beats us on the road, man, we got to tip our hat to him.
Yeah, tip the hat to a guy who was the last pick in the draft, and I don't know. He's just one more win away from making history. So the Eagles, they're not going to let this happen. They're going to play their hardest. So I expect the Eagles to at least put on a dogfight and make it hard for us to earn it. So how does the Eagles D-line match up against the Niners O-line? I think it depends on how that line holds up. I mean, we have two of the weakest spots, which is the center position and Mike McGlinchey. I think the rest of the guys do pretty well. Depends on how you guys match up wise. I mean, we've held the Cowboys pretty well on their D-line. They only had 2 sacks. Eagles are a far better team. They got a good depth of defensive line, so that's going to be the toughest task.
Yeah, and one thing I do like that Jonathan Gannon doesn't get enough credit for is Hassan Reddick moves around a lot. Like, he's not just somebody who go just line up over a certain tackle all game long. A lot of times, a lot of sacks he gets are off of stunts. So I do like with us, we gotta get the 49ers in third and obvious passing situation to where we could unleash the guys after the quarterback. And if that happens, I feel like, Trent Williams is amazing. Obviously, to me, he's the best, left tackle in football. He's the first ballot Hall of Fame. But, trying to attack those, like you said, those other guys, we got to get them in obvious passing situations.
Yeah, you want to pressure them on third and long situations. That's probably where you want to at least try to limit those passes, and that's where Brock Purdy has made the most out of it. Yeah, the Cowboys may not have got the sacks, but yeah, the pressures are key, but it didn't seem like he flinched one bit. Like, you can say, yeah, he didn't throw a single touchdown pass. Yeah, he didn't throw a turnover, but at least he was able to get the job done. Like, he threw the important passes that needed to happen. Like, when we needed to close this game out, he threw a couple of key passes, and that was pretty much it. Run the ball, game over. But, thoughts of the prediction. So, we ain't getting to the prediction yet, but maybe we can talk about our key players on defense. Like, who's the one key factor on your defensive player that needs to step up?
For me, I'm gonna say TJ Edwards. Because it's the middle of the field. Like, he's the guy that's gonna be in the middle of the field. I doubt that he really gonna be on Kittle like that, but I could see at times him or Kazir White being matched up with McCaffrey, coming out of the backfield. So, I feel like he's a big key, to this matchup, going against the run game and potentially trying to, cover the middle of the field, which is vulnerable for us at times.
Yeah, that would be one guy that has to step up at this point. That's a good choice. I mean, he's like your leading tackler, so I guess he would have to make some plays against the likes of Kittle and McCaffrey at that point. So for my X factor on defense, I gotta say it's gotta have to come down to Dre Greenlaw, man. Like besides Fred Warner, he might need to make some important tackles, make important plays to where it can keep us in this game. A guy like him making his presence felt on his defense will be a difference maker. Like if he can stop your running game and get under your other players' head mentally, like some of the players we have, like if that comes down to it, it comes down to playing smart football. If he doesn't make any boneheaded mistakes like he did against the Cowboys, I think otherwise he'd be the difference maker. Like he's made some key turnovers, he's kind of made some key plays, and if this guy comes clutch, that's where we need this guy at. But yeah, that would be my X factor. But as far as all that, man, like everybody's kind of putting in some good thoughts. I mean, you guys got some good secondaries. I'll give you that. So let's see. We'll answer a couple more questions before we end the show, and then we'll do a score prediction after that first. I mean, so questions for your guests. Okay, so shout out to my boy Jay Aguayo, which he's a Niners fan. Question for your guest: if he was an offensive coordinator, how would you attack the Eagles?
Yeah, like I've mentioned, the middle of the field, with the tight ends and running backs out the backfield. The corners, I mean, they're human. They could get beat, at times, obviously. But my biggest thing would be play action passes and try to hit the Kittle in the seams.
Yep, he just said it pretty best, Burn Ballsack. I think he said it best about Kittle being the one guy that can be in the middle, be a scary factor. So we're getting close to the final of these questions, but let's go with the score prediction since we're going to go by that, and then you tell me why you choose that score prediction. I know realistically we're probably going to choose opposite sides of the ends, but
right.
I mean, let's be honest. I know you're probably going to pick your team, but give me at least a reason why you're convinced your team will win and why would that score happen.
I'm gonna go more. I'm gonna see Eagles win this one. I'm gonna go 24-20. And for me, I feel like the defense is gonna be, the Niners gonna make plays. Obviously, they're gonna make plays. They're gonna move the ball. But I keep thinking about third down and like 7 or 8, and the link going crazy, and though he's been unfazed at this moment, and like I have told a lot of our fans, look, it's not like he going out there by himself. He got, if you're going in a dangerous neighborhood, you want to go with a lot of people that's dangerous, and he got dangerous people coming in there with him. But if it is 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, in that stadium, that is something that he's never seen, at least on this level yet. So I like the defense in that chance. I think at times we're going to struggle offensively, but I feel like Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown going to make enough plays. And like I said, I think we pull it out like with a 24-20 score.
That's convincing enough to even say that. I mean, it's possible. Any game could happen at this point. But, man, you kind of said exactly the same scoreboard, but I meant the opposite, man. Like I said 24 Niners and then Eagles 20, man. Like, here's why I'm more convinced about this game. Like, as long as we keep this game closer, if we keep it very close, a good chance we'll be able to run the ball effectively. This is where the Niners can run the ball late in this quarter, and this can be where it hurts the Eagles down the stretch. Like, if we keep this game closer, we can stick with that formula. But if we're behind, we're going to be just like how the other teams were behind. We have to be in a close game with you guys to even keep this even a competitive game. And then it comes down to late in the fourth quarter. Maybe this is the play where we run the ball. Maybe this is the play where McCaffrey runs it, or like your boy Elijah Mitchell runs it in for that touchdown play. That could be the difference maker. Maybe that's the play where Elijah Mitchell runs into the end zone, and then he goes in and looks for you and say, "Hey, where's Mr. Dugas?" No, I'm just playing, man. But I think that can be one of the plays. It could be one of the key plays, but it's going to be a close game. I think the Eagles physically are going to bring a tough matchup. They're going to get to Brock Purdy. I think what's going to make Brock Purdy stand out is he's going to have to learn to adjust against this type of defense. And like you said, the crowd noise is going to be a little different. But I think either way, it's it's going to be very convincing by how we look at the score prediction. You said it differently about how I think of it. But if we keep a close game with you guys, we can stick with that running game.
Yeah, that is key for us to get out to a lead, kind of put a little pressure on them. And for us, we got to stay the course. This is not going to be easy. This ain't the Giants, or a lot of teams we've played this year. This is a team that's our own size. We bullish, they bullish. So for us, it's just about, the quarterback gives me so much confidence because not just with his play, but just his leadership, just the fact that he's been at Alabama, at Oklahoma, he's been in these big time type of games. And he's done his thing. So the way he leads this team, the defensive players we have, the hungriness of this team, I'm excited. I'm excited, and I just, not that I say I can't see it, because it's very possible. I wouldn't be shocked, obviously, before tonight. I'd be upset and hurt, but I wouldn't be shocked, like, oh my God, I can't believe we lost to them. But we got to come out there and we got to play well. And I feel like we're going to do that at home with this opportunity in front of us.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me how that would come. It wouldn't shock me because I know you guys are a good football team. I just think when it comes down to it, I think whoever wants it more is going to win it. So it's not going to be a shocker if you guys win, and it wouldn't surprise me if we win either. So I think the fact we're like the top 2 seeds in our conference tells us how good we are.
Yeah, it's the 2 best teams, in the NFC, probably in the NFL. I definitely think is the 2 best rosters. I think that, Howie Roseman and John Lynch both did a magnificent job of putting these rosters together.
Yeah, like you said, 2 bullies going at each other, man. That's just going to be a great classic, man. Whoever, like, it's like we're claiming that territory. Like, this is my territory, or this is my territory, man. Come over here.
Oh, yeah, like that schoolyard where all the kids see, the bullies about to go at each other. Let's see this, the little Giants and the Cowboys all like, oh, let's see them beat each other up, So it's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be rocking over there.
Yeah, man. Definitely appreciate you on the show. But for anybody else who's not too familiar with your channel, can you tell everybody where they can find you through your social media platform, and what do you do on your content?
Yeah, y'all check me out, Mr. Dugas on YouTube. And on my Instagram, Mr. Dugas _1986. Facebook, Courtney Dugas. And on the channel, obviously a lot of Eagles content, content of other teams as well. We don't discriminate. Just a lot of, I'm gonna probably do another, video, look ahead video tomorrow. So on this game, to break it down a little more. And of course, we'll try to be live at halftime and, do the post-game video. So make sure y'all come check that out. Win or lose, I'll show my face. So come check me out.
For sure, man. And as always, guys, it's great to see this guy on the show. But hey, go check him out. You're not you're missing out on a guy who's realistic, and he does more than just Eagles. He does his LSU Tigers. He does the Braves. He does a little bit of everything, and he even tells you like it is about all 32 teams besides his team. So I've seen this channel for quite a while. I've been watching his content for, a couple of years or a while, dude, and I've always thought, man, this guy knows his shit.
Appreciate it. And everybody that's came here for me, y'all check my guy out too, man. Big time Niners fan. Got a lot of great content, a lot of great stuff going on, man.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it, man. Hey, may the best team win, and looking forward to this game, bro. So take it easy, bro. And as always, we can all agree, let's go.
Let's get it.